Holy Ozymandias, Batman! Tiki here, and I've been watching through each and every episode of Batman the Animated Series for the first time, with my pal Dragon at my side. Dragon, of course, being a walking encyclopedia of all things Batman the Animated Series, and we've come across a two-parter, which we're midway through, and I think I might need some help deciphering everything about this. So, Dragon, take it away.
That's right, folks. Long ago, I made a vow, a very special vow, to educate Tiki in the ways of Batman the Animated Series. One could say serving as his spirit guide to Gotham. You know, in a way.
And tonight we're talking about The Demon's Quest, Part 2. All right, Dragon, let's just get right into it. The Demon's Quest Part 2. Definitely one of the more supernatural leaning episodes of Batman the Animated Series yet, with the whole, with Raj Al Ghul kind of coming back from the dead and being being much more intimidating than he was previously. A lot of Ozymandias style master plans of evening out the population and stuff like that. Really good stuff, really interesting stuff. It's not quite the globe-trotting adventure that Part 1 was, but I do think this one is maybe even more of a character study. I really like all the Talia stuff in this one. So yeah, overall, very, very solid conclusion.
Yeah, again, I'll mention this now because we're in the kind of the second part of the two-parter phase of things now. So with this two-parter, I've always felt Demon's Quest is it always gets swept under the rug, and I always felt that was unfortunate because everyone's going towards the early ones where you have Two-Face, which that's the only contender I have, because Two-Face is really hard to beat, because Two-Face is fantastic. It's a testament to that character. It's phenomenal. I don't know if I could objectively say Demon's Quest is better than Two-Face, but I mean, for me, though, I really love going back to Demon's Quest, but Two-Face is I think objectively Two-Face is better, but Demon's Quest is so much fun. So great.
Sure.
So those are always my two favorite of all the two-parters. Everyone kind of goes to Feet of Clay, which is also a good one. If there's a top 5 out of the 7, it's there. But again, it's out of 7, so it's really that. The point being, the Demon's Quest is fantastic, and I always love going back. And I'm so happy we finally have gotten to the place we're talking Raj Al Ghul and just kind of this tremendous two-part and kind of the cinematic kind of part 2 of the thing. So it's the whole thing just feels very cinematic upon the revisit. It just feels very kind of like a mini Phantasm in 2 parts, which is just great. Everything you could ever hope for. Okay, because we already went through the background on the first episode. There's a little alteration that I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up here. Let me quickly go through it here. So, context. Directed by Kevin Altieri, again, directed the Two-Face two-parter. The writer on this, and this is where we get into things interesting. Okay, so the writer on this was not Denny O'Neil, technically. Writer on this was Len Wein. Of course, we talked about Len Wein before, the co-creator of Wolverine and Swamp Thing. He did Blind as a Bat and Off Balance. Off Balance being the big one because of the Raj Al Ghul Connect, kind of the reason he's on this episode. Studio that basically Denny O'Neil, he did the overall story for the two, and they are based off his original work. So Denny O'Neil directly was the lone writer on the first part. He kind of did the outline, I imagine, on part 2. Okay, so Studio worked on this. TMS did Feet of Clay part 2. This story adapts another Raj Al Ghul story, it's kind of a running series where this is kind of eventually when he catches back up to Raj Al Ghul, we have this part of the story, which is Batman number 244, The Demon Lives Again. Basically, Denny O'Neil, he kind of mentioned this once, I was kind of blown away by this. There was some sort of mysterious editorial snafu. Now, I don't know if that means Denny O'Neil was wrapped up in a story with DC Comics at the time, or if it was that in the writing of this episode, something went awry. He really, I don't know. I hope it wasn't anything bad, because it's like O'Neil. You imagine he would have wanted to write both parts of the story, and essentially it sounds like for some reason he wasn't able to come back for the second one, or something went awry, and they bring in Len Wein, who again had experience in adapting O'Neil's works before. So it sounds like something went wrong. We're going to bring in the other O'Neil guy, light that we have. So Len Wein. It's kind of strange. Okay, that's pretty much it. We can just dive right into it.
Okay, so Ubu is actually teaming up with Batman kind of to help out Talia because he's dressing to Batman. He's like, of course we have Raj Al Ghul kind of holding Talia over the Lazarus Pit. That was the cliffhanger last time around.
And we recap
and
my
Ubu is
favorite
just
moment,
like,
just not as effectively. With that whole, put her down, Raish. It's like, now he's doing the recap. It's like, put her down, Raish. It's not like the big dramatic one we end the first episode off on. But anyway.
Right. So Ubu is basically just like, the Lazarus Pit will heal the dying, but it'll kill people who are able-bodied. Batman's just like, I know, I get it.
It's a little fun exposition with Batman. I get it. All right, kill a healthy person. I get
it. So Batman essentially ties Rage's arms up, right?
Yeah, he throws the bat rope around his arms, and basically as he pulls Raish back, as he falls back, he catches Talia midair, and then Raish, he's snapped again. Raish is, while insane, he's really strong. He breaks the restraints, and he's coming towards him. And we have an awesome moment for Talia al Ghul.
I can handle this myself.
And I love this as the score is building, and Harvey Cohen did the score for this, different composer too. Good score though, again, very different score, but an awesome score all the same. So a very Lawrence of Arabia score. So point being, she's, I can handle this myself. Raish is charging towards her, and she just firmly stands, and she's ready. And she's like, bam, slaps some sense into him, like right
in the kisser.
Yeah, right in the kisser, right in the face, bam. And it works. And again, this is true to have the effect works. There's going to be temporary insanity, is basically after Raish thanks both Talia and Batman for kind of saving his bacon there and saving Talia's bacon. He reveals the two of them reveal that the pit has a temporary effect of insanity, because basically when you come back to life, and this essentially under the Red Hood is what drove Jason Todd insane. When you get reborn, it's a really traumatic, stressful process. You're going to go insane. Ideally, it'll wear off, but if you don't get some sense slapped into you, if you just go wild, you don't know. It's going to be horrible. Well, actually, one time Joker was dropped in the Lazarus Pit. He actually turned sane temporarily, which is really creepy. It's really creepy. Anyway, okay. So the point being, let's see. So no man may reap its blessings indefinitely, which is also the other effect of the Lazarus Pit, which means Raish can't keep doing this. 600 years, he's been lucky to get away with it for 600 years, which is why he's looking for an heir, in case you're wondering, well, why is he looking for an heir? Why is he so offended? Why can't he just do it? Well, no, that's why he can't do it. It's going to break his body if he keeps using it. That's why it's working. It'll only work less and less each time he does it. He'll need to keep taking dips until it's 5 seconds, essentially. That's what I'm saying. If he keeps using it for another 600 years, so that's why I need the successor and the mantle.
Okay, nice. But the answer is still no to Batman.
Yeah.
A pity, and you leave me no choice.
If you're not with me, you're against me. Talia pleads, Father, no! And you've seen too much. You've seen too much of our secrets, which means we got to do the Bond thing. Again, the greatest thing about Ra's al Ghul, essentially, it's kind of a Bond villain for Batman, which is really cool. Sure. He has a self-destruct button for the base, which, again, if you had a Lazarus Pit, would be a logical contingency if someone were to kind of sneak in and use it against your will. You don't want the secret getting out. You don't want people stealing the water. So, no worries, because they have a desert stronghold. Importantly, they mention the desert stronghold, so that's going to be a clue for Batman overhearing this later. So I assume assumedly there's a charge built into the mountain, so it blows up, which then caves in the mountain once he pushes the button. Farewell, detective. And then we have this bit that really, I love this bit, where Talia says, goodbye, beloved, which is her nickname for him throughout everything, by the way. She always calls him beloved, which is always kind of a great runner with Talia and the Batman dynamic. So the door closes on the life that Batman just projected, as you see Talia, who's very sorrowfully saying goodbye to beloved, and has just slammed shut. No air life for Batman.
Symbolism.
Yeah.
All right, so the place is literally just crumbling down around them. Oh my God, just big pieces of stalagmites just falling on top of them. Not good. Robin, the rope. They swing down the rope as it barely catches them before they hit the Lazarus Pit.
Which, as we know, thanks to Ubu, would kill a healthy person.
I know, Ubu, I get it. All right.
Okay, so they climb up the
They
whole
climb up out of the Lazarus Pit just in time.
Yeah. They ride the avalanche down, which is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, yeah.
Robin's okay, but he
Right.
wishes he brought the thermal tights.
All
All right, so long story
right.
short, they head to civilization.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Robin, he asked Robin if he heard anything while he was captured for about a week, like a little less than a week. He says they kept mentioning this one word, Orpheus. All right, so now we're at Wayne Enterprises, Nepal, and again, coincidental maybe, but I buy Bruce Wayne's like a global
I
network of
like it. I buy it. I buy it.
I know
I
that's
don't
what I'm
mind it at
saying.
all,
If
honestly.
there, I don't like. I like it too, but if there are any skeptics saying, "Isn't that a little coincidental?" Who cares though? It's Wayne Enterprise. It's global. Who cares? So but the two of them are doing some detective work here. I like how we work Robin into the mix, but he still doesn't get in the way because it really is Batman and Raish's story. So I love we kind of work him in towards the beginning of things here, and he's kind of manning the plane later. So it's nice. It's a nice conservative use of Robin.
uh All right, so Orpheus is from Greek mythology, Dragon. Let's see, he descended into the netherworld to bring his beloved bride back to the dead. And
So
Dragon, that's actually where the story of Hades comes from, too.
yes,
Because
and
Hades is the one who kidnapped his bride.
yeah. So of course, as you can probably ascertain, we got some parallels to the Lazarus Pit as a concept with that Greek mythology, and also a little side note here. Actually, this is actually I think it's a little nod to Ra's al Ghul's origin. I don't think I've never told you Ra's al Ghul's origin, have I?
Well, I don't want to get too bogged down in exposition right now, but if you can give me the elevator pitch, I
Yeah, sure.
guess.
That's what I'm saying. Just the elevator pitch.
Okay.
Is that Ra's was a doctor for a sultan way back when. He healed the dying prince using the Lazarus Pit that he discovered, which drove the prince insane, and so insane that he killed Ra's al Ghul's wife. And you remember Batman Begins, Ra's did have a wife that he lost. So again, we're kind of tracking that story, and basically. He then experienced the corruption of the system, which is why he's all about burning down the corruption in Batman Begins and everything, which is basically
Yeah.
Ra's was found guilty for the crime, the Sultan was framed for the crime. That's the elevator pitch right there. So basically, that's
Okay.
the whole descending into the Netherlands to bring back the death because of the wife. Anyway, we'll aside there. Okay,
All right. So what's next?
Orpheus is also a satellite, which is going to be very pivotal to things here. So the satellite that Ra's al Ghul owns, and he's launched into orbit about a year ago, which now orbits over the Sahara Desert, which will lead to the desert stronghold. So now they have a location. So Robin drops Batman off like 100 kilometers out in the desert. We're now in the desert, man. We're going all over the place.
I know. That's the thing about this whole two-parter is it really does feel like it has a huge scope to it.
We start in Gotham. We go to Calcutta, Malaysia, and Nepal, and now we're going to the Sahara Desert.
I'm trying to work in a Matthew McConaughey joke because of that movie that bombed called Sahara, but you know what? It'll be forced, so I'm just gonna reference it. Hey, remember that Matthew McConaughey movie?
Yeah. All right.
He's just hanging out in the background.
So now we enter the Lawrence of Arabia portion of the two-parter, which is awesome.
I know, right?
Has like a fitting score. It's got scope. The whole episode looks beautiful. Let's be honest. Again, if we're gonna take we're taking Batman so firmly out of his element from a city to like we're going to a desert stronghold. Like Batman's joined the French Foreign Legion for all we know. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Raish's men, we have this camel convoy. Basically, all of them are riding back to the stronghold on camels. Batman, he does a stealth takedown on a man on a camel, which is great. He drops down on him with the cape.
And just anytime we have Batman in silhouette, it's really cool. As is the first time that this guy sees Batman up on the rocks.
Yeah. Whereas again, very Raiders tone to all this two-parter, by the way, but especially in part two here, where again he's gonna he's like when he knocks out the Nazi and puts on the clothes of the Nazi. We're kind of doing that here with the camel convoy guy. So basically now he's wearing like a full head covering. So again, fun timing too. Like when he's on the last guy in line, so no one notices. And of course, like the guy looks at, just plops on the camel mid stride, and just like waving at him too, just waving back at him, which is great.
Hello.
Okay, so I love that Ubu runs a tight ship with all like kind of the
Yeah,
League of
yeah.
the Society of Shadow guys here. Or, yeah, really the League of Assassins, but we can't get away with it. It's a Society of Shadows, those guys.
Sure, why not?
So anyway, so point being, Batman, he goes down a corner. Ubu spots this. He follows him to chew him out. Hey, did you not hear what I said? And of course, Bat exit. Like, what? Where'd he go? So Batman's running and he's doing a little bit of reconnaissance here, trying to figure out what Raish's exact plan is. But then he is caught spying by Ubu. Want to take us through one counter here?
Oh God, yeah, sure. So Ubu just throws him off. He's like, "So, do my eyes not deceive me? You will pay for this trespass." All right, so they go toe to toe, Dragon. I love how Batman's just like really bouncing off the walls, literally.
Well, when he leaps off the wall, Ubu throws me. You think, oh God, Ubu's he's not playing around this time. He throws Batman against the wall, but he leaps like doesn't even hit the wall. He leaps off of it and right back into Ubu and like punches him a number of times, which is great.
And then a bunch of guards surround Batman. Let's see, and then that's where we get the unmasking, right?
Well, this is where like Ubu's mad. Like, you will suffer for this indignity. You will suffer. Then Raish just he stops things. Enough, Ubu, and he inquires about the disturbance and he says it's a spy. And of course, like Raish is now interested by this spy. And again, I love again Raish seeing the potential in all people. I love that Raish is showing off his rejuvenation by doing this big old leap instead of taking the stairs. Let's see. So Raish. I'd like to take a closer look at one so foolish or so brave. Again, oh my, I could listen to David Warner read the phone book, folks. I really could. Anyway, so they remove the little hood, and it's Batman. And again, showing the respect. My admiration for you was well founded, detective. Again, that's why Raj Al Ghul's the man, folks. All right, let's see. So they tell him basically this is an excuse to get him looking like the comic, where he's shirtless and without the utility belt. That's the whole point.
Exactly.
Relieve him of his cumbersome belt and search him good, and so make sure he conceals no surprises. So they rip the shirt off. Thankfully, it's not the hairy Batman we get in the comic, because again, it's hard to animate that. So that's why he's always been kind of like bare chested, anyway. So anyway.
But I love the notion that Raish leaves a mask on as like a sign of respect. Because Raish knows the ceremonial quality to the mask.
Yes, his mask master. No, leave it. It is a mark of honor. It's like,
yes. I love that. That's one of my favorite Raish beats in the whole two-parter, honestly.
So Batman's asking what the plan is. Basically, get him to do like a Bond villain speech here, the monologuing, if you will. He says, and of course, and this is great. The Raish says, "I owe you that much because in many ways you are responsible for it." And Batman kind of is, and it makes you feel bad for Batman. Just him turning this guy down caused all this, and just Batman can't win at the end of the day. He's he's the Charlie Brown of crime fighters in some respects. He just can't win. So basically, long story short, Raish's earthly utopia vision. Now has to be accelerated. It's going to be gradual via an air, just kind of overseeing just the general mission, if it were Batman. But his refusal has left him no other choice but to accelerate his plans, which means he's using the Lazarus effect. Now, I have always loved this plan, Tiki. It's kind of it's such a genius plan. So what Raish has done here, long story short, is he's placed bombs around all the pits globally. These bombs about to be dropped into the Lazarus pits that are electronically linked to the satellite that's orbiting the place. When the satellite's in alignment, he's going to hit the button and begin the countdown of 5 minutes. We show through this. What did you think about the black and white slideshow? Because we show it via the slideshow.
I mean, yeah, it is very stylistically pretty cool how they accomplished that.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, what it reminds me of is it reminds me of kind of like those World War II atom bomb testing footage.
Yeah, you're right. It is a little like that. Yeah. Okay, so a point being, all the bombs they're going to go off simultaneously, which will lead to a global chain reaction, which will saturate the globe. And basically, after the cataclysm has abated, there will come a blessed peace. And the poor defiled planet shall find itself restored to its former life, essentially, to its former pristine glory. I think he says.
Again, I think Ivy would really like this plan.
I know that's the team up that always made the most sense. If it were to,
Right.
you rarely ever see it happen though. It's like Raish and Poison Ivy would get along famously. You'd
They
imagine.
would. They would.
I can't tell you how long I've been pitching that story and putting them together, but it's never, it's never going to get anywhere. Okay, so of course, Batman's then pointing out, this is going to cost countless lives. And then, this
Oh,
is the chilling line here. It says, actually, detective, we've counted. 2 billion
this is a
50.
very Ozymandias moment right here. This is the most Ozymandias moment.
That it is. 2,056,986,000.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the most impressive plan, would you agree? Yes, and about Batman being really giving some Batman sass here. This is great. So, oh, just Batman really just sticking the knife in the again. Raish having such admiration for Batman, he just wants him to be pleased with him. That's all he really wants. And he's just not getting it with the whole like, yes, I can see, and it's Conway's performance.
Batman to be proud of his rage.
Oh,
All right.
God.
That's,
Okay.
that's
Anyway,
ridiculous. Let's
thank you.
not go there.
Okay. Point being, he says, yes, I can see it clearly now. For the first time, Raish smiles because like, I'm gonna get the pat on the back finally. He says, "You are out of your mind." And Raish's smile turns to a scowl, and he's like, "Oh, I put myself out there, man. You just clip my wings." And my headcanon's always been for this plan. I mean, they don't really spell it out, but it's always been that presumably he's not going to wipe out all of life here. Knowing what the Lazarus Pit does is that the sick and the elderly are going to survive. Well, again, kind of the Thanos level of the plan, if you will, is the whole like kind of the Ozymandias, like not the whole population, but a large significant portion with his numbers. Is that the sick and the elderly are going to survive because of the Lazarus Pit. So it's not extinction, but it is balance.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so Raish isn't happy, and neither is Ubu. Ubu's like, he just kicks him in the back, infidel dog, and just kicks him.
Infidel!
Yeah.
And then this is where Batman gets really pissed, right?
Yeah, he's on his back, and he's really
Batman's just like, if you call me infidel one more time.
Yeah. So now Ubu's gonna like, I shall attend to you personally this time. I'm not gonna send my men on you because you remember Ubu. He thinks he can take on Batman, but he really can't because all the time he's like calling it like a whole bunch of men to dogpile on him. That's how he stops him. It's like Ubu's never gonna stand a chance, but he tries. He does try. So Raish stops him. He says, "I prefer the detective live to see the realization of my dream. Take him to the tower to watch." Right before they take him to the tower, Talia stops him and plants one on him, like the old movies. Plants one on him like she's Bacall.
To remember me by my beloved.
Yes, and again, this is from the book where she helps him with a kiss. Where again, it's not quite the same way, but she basically in the book the main difference. Basically, this is all pretty straightforward, but the satellites weren't quite in vogue in the '70s. You probably imagine.
Right.
So basically, the main thing was the whole crux of the thing is Batman faces Ra's al Ghul in the third act of this episode. That was essentially the comic, but it was interrupted by a scorpion sting. Batman was stung by a scorpion, and that was essentially he was a goner. He was dead. But Talia basically gave him an antidote through a kiss, and that's how he survived and took down Ra's. That's how it was in the comic. So we fit things in really.
I honestly kind of like this. I like this one a little bit better just because it feels a little bit more streamlined.
I know, me too. I like how cinematic this one is with the grand scheme of things. Streamlined in the kiss regard, but also again it kind of allows us to get kind of a proper climax instead of like climax interrupt us, and then he takes out Raish, and then we have the Talia scene. That's a little better than the way it kind of originally went down. Okay, so so after the kiss, Batman is then chained to a wall, and we have like the wise guys here, the wise guy guards going like, "Oh, not too dangerous without your belt, are you?" Like slaps him in the face. So then we reveal Batman had a lockpick passed to him through the kiss, which again better than the antidote.
So it slips out.
Yeah. So the two men, they're asking like, why do you think we need two people to guard this guy? And of course, as they say that, both knocked out simultaneously, just great.
All right, so Raj Al Ghul on a big speech, Dragon. Big speech time for Raish.
Yeah.
It's like, we are on the threshold of a great adventure. Even now, the satellite Orpheus is moving into proper alignment, and the moment of destiny is finally upon us. A whole bunch of cheering from the crowds commences.
They start the timer, which, by the way, is a real life amount of time with the 5 minutes or so left in the episode.
I did notice that, actually. Yeah, I noticed that. Like, hey, there is about 5 minutes left in this episode. Nice real-time use there.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. So Batman knocks out a guard, and he uses the grenade belt on the guard to blow up the armory and kind of create the ultimate diversion. I love that. Basically, when this thing goes up, when this armory goes up, my two favorite details, and this is a TMS detail, man, where the TMS detail is that they go to the extra mile where all the missiles are going off and they're still firing throughout the sequence.
Yeah.
And I love the fire lighting. It gives us like kind of a great backdrop to the action going on. To this giant blaze of fire. It's like a background, which is cool. So let's see. Batman heads to the control panel. Raish tells Ubu to stop him, which then leads to a rematch. What happens in this rematch?
Okay, this is what I'm talking about with whole, like, if you call me infidel one more time...
If you only knew how sick I am of you calling me that.
Really fun stuff.
Ubu with a whip. Again, a little bit of Raiders in there, so Ubu gonna come out with a whip.
Oh, yeah.
And Batman, before Ubu like skewers him with a sword, importantly, Ubu is armed with a sword, which is going to give Batman a weapon later. Batman uses the whip against Ubu, basically tangling him and kind of throwing him back and knocking Ubu out, which then leads to the big. And this is on top of it. Things just play out so much more nicely in the two-parter here than just like interrupt us of like a sword fight. It's like we're building to the actual sword fight here, folks, and this is awesome. We have the really it's a classic moment from the book, classic visual of like the two men fighting with their shirts off thing. It's so out of left field for Batman, but again, we've legitimized an out there 66 idea, but we've legitimized it dramatically. So it's time for you and I to finish this, detective. So I love Batman's reaction. Notice to ground the thing a little bit as the Raish is removing his shirt. It's like, really? We're doing this?
Right. So yeah, just shirtless sword fighting in the midst of a giant inferno dragon. It doesn't get that much more epic than that.
It's really cool. And of course, with the person they both care about, just kind of in the sidelines watching all it go down.
Right. Yeah.
So Batman's like, if you insist, and now the music's swelling and the two men are going at it, sword fighting. It's very Errol Flynn-esque. Basically, and again, as I kind of alluded to with the whole Dozier tease at the end of last episode, again, it's so in the rewatch, Batman's becoming Zorro in an adventure, kind of like a lifelong childhood dream to an extent. And again, much like Errol Flynn, much like Zorro, the fight goes up the staircase, which is even better. So we're going up the stairs to where the Lazarus Pit is, kind of encased in. All right, so let's see. So Talia, she's witnessing the two men in her life just kind of battle it out. Batman tries to get Raish to stop it here. Tries to kind of call a ceasefire. Like, Raish, you're just going to destroy yourself. Stop it. And this is my favorite detail in the sword fighting. It's like true blue sword fighting here. It's not just like, parry this, parry that. It's not just like fencing or anything. It's there's actual combat. Like they're hitting each other with the other arm within the fight. It's like
right. Yeah.
Like when it's really close combat like that.
So 30 seconds on the clock, Dragon. Raish kind of, lures Batman up to the top. I'm sorry, I've had too many Red Bulls. Raish lures Batman up to the top of the Lazarus Pit. Looks like Batman's cornered. Oh no, what's he gonna do, Dragon? What's he gonna do when Raish comes for you?
Okay. Okay, anyway, so this is a really cool moment here. Batman, essentially, he pole vaults the sword right past Raish's head. This is a really great climax. He pole vaults it right past Raish's head into the satellite dish. So now, basically, the satellite has no signal, and it kind of falls out of orbit. Presume it's going to crash somewhere on the planet, I guess, or like fall down somewhere. The point is, it's going down, which means the day is saved. Yeah. All right. So, point being, satellite's down, drifts downward. Raish is, as you imagined, he's understandably upset by this. He then unleashes on Batman, and of course, Batman not even armed with a sword right now. And again, I love that Raish, he would be... a part of me would like to think that Raish wouldn't fight him without a sword, but he's just so ticked off, he's kind of breaking convention a little bit there. I don't know. Little headcanon. Okay, so anyway, so he's parrying at Batman. Basically, Batman parries out of the way here without a sword, and he falls seemingly over and into the Lazarus pit. But we reveal, oh, great climax! We reveal that Raish has jammed the sword into the side of the pit's wall, and he's hanging by the sword handle.
Yeah.
So Batman, typical fashion.
Batman goes for his hand. Raish at first, he's like, he's trying, but then he's like, no, Batman, I think it's time for me to return to the Earth from which I came, or something like that. I'm sorry, yeah. I don't have the exact line.
Like, perhaps it's time I finally become one with the planet I so love.
Right.
It's kind of Raish, like, saying, my dream's unfulfilled, but he accepts his destiny, which is like, my better defeated me. My respected enemy got one over on me, so I can't really, what am I going to do beyond that? I should just accept my failure and just kind of become one with my crusade, which is really admirable, and again, kind of wonderfully parallels Batman at the end of the day with his own crusade. Batman would die for his crusade as well.
Uh-huh. So and then on top of all that, Dragon, after all that, we get an epic kind of like Raiders of the Lost Ark meets Casablanca kind of ending.
Yes, we do. But also, he let go of the sword and he fell into the pit. We should.
Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's. I didn't just skip ahead. Yes.
No. I love that. I know. You're eager to get to that scene too, and I'm.
I am. Yeah.
I know. Importantly, Raish falls into the Lazarus pit. Batman's disappointed, had to go down that way, and Talia.
I love that Raish. Dragon, I know you're not a Lord of the Rings guy, but there's this moment in Lord of the Rings where Gollum finally gets the ring, and then he falls into the fires of Mount Doom, but when he falls, he's just got this most satisfied look on his face, like, oh, thank God I finally have the ring, and I can be one with the ring again, and then he falls into the fire, and he's still smiling, and even when he's being burned in the fire, I get kind of a sensation like that with Raish when he falls.
Yeah. And again, my heart goes out to poor Talia. Here's the transition things here, because Talia had to bear witness to her father's demise here, and like again, poor girl, she's been put through so much. Then we have like the fiery shot that we then transition to in the painting of the fire, and then basically the stronghold, kind of with the smoke billowing up. And as we're getting our big Casablanca, the kind of Lawrence of Arabia Raiders meets Casablanca moment, which is great. So essentially, Talia, she tells Batman that she does share her father's vision and seeks the ends that he does, but she doesn't choose to the means to those ends. I mean, she doesn't want to kill anyone or hurt anyone. She doesn't want to do anything global or Ozymandias-like. She just wants the end goal. She wants, like, the rainforests to be preserved. She wants to preserve the planet, that sort of stuff. Her goals are in the right place, but she doesn't want to be as lethal as her father. And Batman knows this. I love that Batman gives the reassurance. He's not just like turning the cold shoulder on her and says, I know. He knows that she means it. Robin's starting the plane, which is Casablanca style. He's starting the plane.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Okay, so Talia's asking the big question here, like, what is to become of me then? Am I to be your prisoner? And again, we're mirroring the last encounter where he goes up against Talia, and again, Talia betrayed him as the whole, like, the plane going off and everything, but now we've kind of reversed it to a happy ending where we do the Neil Adams money shot, baby. The Neil Adams money shot.
Big Hollywood-style smooch.
I actually have not of this one in particular, but from the comic, I bought a print from Neil Adams. I got him the sign of, like, for Comic-Con for a couple of years, and I've been eyeing his table. He's a whole bunch of prints, a little overpriced, but still really awesome prints. Point being, these awesome prints, and the one I eyed for a couple of years. Sometimes it would sell out at the Comic-Con, so I wouldn't be able to get. But last year, thankfully, again, this year, I have no idea what Comic-Con's going to be like, if there's going to be one. But point being, luckily, I got my coveted image of, like, me being the big Batman Talia shipper, I guess, if you want to look at that. The big Batman Talia fanboy that I am, of these two kids getting together. I finally got it. I got the print of it, and I love this money shot so much. It's one of the best parts of part 2, seeing the money shot here. It's great. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so Batman. Batman hydrates. He's on the plane.
Yeah.
The Robin's asking kind of the titular question here. So are we done? Is that the last we've seen of Ra's al Ghul? And Batman saying, well, looks that way. I don't know how you come back from that. As Ubu stated earlier in the episode, the pit will kill a healthy person.
I know, Ubu, I know!
That's the thing. If we learn anything about the Lazarus pit going forward, folks, it's that. What will the Lazarus pit do to a healthy person?
It'll kill him!
I get it. Okay.
All right.
So then we have kind of the great monster movie homage
Oh
here.
yeah. Oh yeah. Big
Gracious
time.
hand pops back up on the edge of the pit, and of course we hear David Warner giving that evil laugh, like ha 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 ha, and that's the end.
All right. So just final thoughts, Dragon. I really enjoy this two-parter. I really do. I'm kind of with you where I think next to Two-Face, I honestly think it might be on par with Two-Face just because this one has like a sense of scale to it that Two-Face doesn't have, honestly. Whereas Two-Face is like a really intense character study. This one's a solid character study, but it's also a globe-trotting adventure at the same time, and I dig the globe-trotting element of it. So, I don't know, I think both parts go really well together in tandem to make one awesome whole. It really does feel like a movie almost in the scale and the locations. Ra's just being like a more supernatural villain than Batman's ever faced before. David Warner's voice acting is really spot on. So yeah, just overall, I'm like I said, I don't know if I'm like jumping up and down about these episodes like you are, but I do see the quality in them to be sure.
All right, final thoughts from me. Again, it's Batman meets kind of a Bond climax meets Lawrence of Arabia, and it works. Somehow it works, folks, and it's just so. It's such a great ride. Again, it is a globe-trotting adventure. It's different from, again, it's like as soon as you get comfortable in the niche of Batman the Animated Series and just kind of like, oh, you know the style, you know the characters, you know, okay, that's absolutely Batman. We're in Gotham. You know, we've kind of seen it. We know these characters, and we kind of shake things up. I know I keep saying that in these final thoughts, but it's true, and we're on the second part of it, so I should bring it up again. So, you know, it's a very exciting conclusion. I love how I really, on the rewatch, I love how Batman's choices can have such consequence and a ripple effect. That again, because Batman said no to this guy's offer, he kind of put the whole world at risk technically. Which again, it's like, again, it's just again, it's the ripple effect of his myth. With Batman as a series is all about like Batman's myth having an impact on Gotham City and kind of these other characters being created and kind of like in part being affected by Batman, or kind of rising up to challenge Batman. We kind of have that of a higher form here with kind of like another, like, what if Batman came across another more powerful entity as formidable as he is, if not more so, that kind of has taken Batman's mission global at any cost, which again is like this really interesting cautionary tale that again Batman took as much from Ra's as Ra's took from Batman, which is really fascinating stuff, really well written. The whole story is just fantastic, and really an episode and event that opened the door for Batman dealing with bigger forces that, again, as people kind of point out, you start Batman the Animated Series, he's going up against gangsters and gunmen. Of course, by the time we get to Justice League, he's taking on parademons, and saving the whole world. So it's like, these are the kind of steps that get us logically from point A to point B. He starts with Raj Al Ghul, which then will lead to Superman, which then will lead to the Justice, and so on and so forth. It's great storytelling. This is the kind of stuff universes are built out of in all the best ways. Love it.
Well said. Well said. All right, Dragon, now that that's over, I think we can take a little bit of a breather with an episode that I assume will be a little bit more light. I think so, maybe. Who knows? Give us your best Dozier and tease us up for that.
All right. Batman? A robot after all? Existential questions aplenty? A self-reflective bout? Can Batman solve this puzzling mystery before it's too late? Will Batman make the ultimate sacrifice? Tune in next time and find out. Same animated Bat time, same animated Bat place.
On the next visit to the animated Batcave with his silicone soul. I get it, Ubu, I get it!